Hello, everybody. Welcome to our CakeFu Master Series. I am Amelia Carbine. I am the host of CakeFu, and I want to welcome all of you guys here to a really great CakeFu training. I'm really excited because we have Zoe Clark. She's from the UK. So welcome, Zoe.
Hi, everyone.
So what part of the UK are you from?
I'm in London. Originally from Devon, so the West Country, but now I'm living in London, just by Wimbledon, the famous tennis courts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I just
That's
have a
fun.
little shop here, live nearby, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's fun to have you with us. It's always fun to have someone from another country that, it's really cool that we can reach a worldwide audience. I know that we have people from all over the world that come onto CakeFu, and there are people that are up right now at, midnight watching. So welcome to all of you guys that are staying up late to be here with us.
Hmm.
But yes, thank you, Zoe, for coming on, and we're really happy to have you today.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to be talking about some of the things that Zoe has going on, as well as letting her teach you guys a few things. We have Zoe is actually a craftsy instructor. So Zoe, I have a quick question for you. How did you get into craftsy? Isn't craftsy a US based, and how did they find you, or it?
It was really strange actually. Since about must have been about Christmas now. I've just been sort of approached by so many different people, different companies about doing online tutorials, and
Oh,
I've always thought from all over the world and also in the UK. And I've just always been thinking, okay, yes, maybe, and not really thought seriously about it. And then I was actually contacted by Craftsy, and just thought about it a little bit. And I think because what made me do it with Craftsy is the fact that it's such a big and everything's so well produced and well done. That kind of
mhm.
sort of tipped it for me, and I just saw a lot of my favourite cake makers were on it already. I think that kind of helped and sort of swayed me just to really, it would be a great idea for me to go with them. So
That's
yeah,
great. Well, you made a good choice because
I
craftsy is
do. And the
great.
more I see it and the more I look at it, I'm glad that I did it. And yeah, with them it was a good thing to do. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we're going to talk about your craftsy class a little bit. In fact, what you're sharing today is that craftsy, or is that from your book? Is that
I have a little project that I've put in here, which is from the book, but I actually show that technique in during the craftsy class as one of the lessons.
okay?
And I
Awesome.
think actually the cake that's in my book was there at the craftsy shoot, so I was referring to that as well. So yeah, it kind of ties in nicely.
Oh, great. Okay, so you'll be able to see it through you or through craftsy, and if you have your book, then
Yeah.
okay, great. All right. We have a discount for all of you guys who are watching today for CakeFu or for Craftsy. Craftsy and CakeFu, they'll start with a C. I get confused sometimes. Okay, so we have a Craftsy discount for all of our listeners today. It's only good for 24 hours. So when we bring on Craftsy and instructors, it's really fun to have them here, and it's really nice of Craftsy to allow us these, exclusive discounts. I think it's really awesome of them. And so, but make sure that you go and take advantage of that 20% discount because it's not going to be, around forever. It's 24 hours. So, and then also at the end of the training, we are going to be giving away Zoe's class to one lucky winner. So make sure you stick around to the end, and we will give you more information on the discount and the giveaway towards the end. I just want to, let you guys all know about that and have a heads up of what's going on. Okay, so Zoe, let's go ahead and jump into the oh, here we go. We have a picture actually.
Yeah.
I forgot I had this. We have a picture of you. things from your Craftsy class. So you want to talk about your Craftsy class a little bit? It's elegant lace cakes, and you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so basically what the class is about, it's not one big project. It's basically lots of little different ways of looking at how to get lace onto your cakes. And I've done this through either doing appliques, so rolling out lots of thin cutouts from flour paste or gum paste, how you like to call it over the pond, and just rolling that out thinly. And then also another technique doing with piping, and then also combining applique and piping just to get more texture. And basically it's just looking at that, how to mark the flour paste with either pressing lace into it or lace molds. We also cover using lace molds in the class. So yeah. Awesome.
Well, that sounds really good. I think that one of the best things you can do is teach techniques more than just an overall project, because then people are equipped to be able to go and do lots of different things instead of just, I know how to do this cake, so
yeah.
That's great.
I mean, we do in 2 of the lessons, we do in the middle, we do make the cake, and I show you how to make the cake that's on the postcard that's advertising the class. So that would be the brush embroidery design, which is just piping and then over piping. And then in the lesson following that one, I just show how to put it all together, inspired from the dress with the sash around the tier and the flower and then the buttons.
Awesome.
And then sort of either side of that you have just applique techniques and then some other techniques. And at the very end I just sort of talk about how to not just do it on your cake, but how you can match your other sort of bits of confectionery like cupcakes and cookies, and how to tie in as well as having just a cake on display.
Great. All right. And so this is one of the things that you have here. We have a cake that is so extremely gorgeous. Look at that. I think that lacy cakes are just, they're so beautiful. So you want to talk about this? We're gonna actually take you through some steps of how Zoe has accomplished this, and walk you through it a little bit. So. You want to go ahead and I'll let you take over and talk about...
To start off with, to actually get this, the design with the pink, I just iced the top and bottom tier in ivory, then the middle tier was in pink, and then I just did a band around the bottom of the top tier and then iced over another very thin bit of icing to get the top part of the pink on the bottom tier.
Oh, okay. So if we go back a little bit and see that... So the pink part is icing, or is that fondant?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So that's fondant. That's the actual covering. So where you get at the bottom of the top tier and the top part of the bottom tier, that's almost 2 very thin layers of fondant.
Okay, great. I love that. I love that it's not just all one color. That it looks like you've just taken the lace and just kind of...
Yeah, and wrapped it around the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
So, it's basically on that cake, you've got the embroidery work that's done with piping. Then you've also got this applique work, which is basically done from lots of different cutouts using different blossom cutters. And then what you do is you roll the flour paste really thin, press it into a lace mold. Here I've got a butterfly lace mold. It's the CK molds, which I absolutely love. They're brilliant. They make great lace impressions. And I just press them together without worrying about matching the design up, because I just wanted to get kind of a lacy, textured impression into the paste. And then I cut out the flowers, and then I cut the centers out of the flowers. And when I've actually put them on the cake, I've kind of pulled them slightly to distort them to make them a bit more sort of lacy looking. And once you've cut out the flowers, you can actually press them back in the mold, so it makes the edges a bit kind of not so clean, but a bit sort of rough, so it looks again more realistic, a bit more like lace.
I love that. I love that you can get that texture from a butterfly mold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of my favorites. I've got another one that I use a lot for this kind of thing because the pattern's quite dense and certain areas of the actual mold are really, really pretty. So that one was a good one. But any lace mold, there's lots of different companies now that are bringing out molds. Yeah, it should work.
That's great. You know, it's good to know that you could take just, you know, something that has that lace texture, and it doesn't have to be exactly for that specific thing. And that can cut down, you know, immensely on the amount of tools
exactly. And they are
molds.
expensive, so it's good to get a few key ones and then just keep with the ones that you've got, because you can even just, some of the big molds, you can even just use parts of it. And I do show that in the class, I think. How you can just maybe do couple of flowers from one end of the mold and cut them out and use it as a separate piece instead of having to use the whole piece. So.
Oh, cool. Very nice. All right, so you're using this same mold again.
So just pressing it, and that's where I've got, that's the band that goes around the top and the bottom to separate the pink from the ivory.
Okay, and do you have a special cutter that does that?
Yeah, that's just a normal scallop edge cutter. So you just roll out a long thin strip and then you cut the scallop edge out and then you come down a bit and then you cut it out again. But it's just a normal sort of, any scallop, either a long strip cutter or something like that.
Okay.
There's a few different brands out there on the market. FMM do one, and I think Orchard Products, of what I know over here in the UK. They use them quite a lot.
Okay, great. All right, and then here's our actual cake.
Here's the first step. So the cake needs to be iced 24 hours beforehand in order to kind of scribe your pattern onto the cake. If you just did this on a soft cake, it would make really big marks. So after 24 hours, you can trace around the main flower. That's what I did for the pipe flower, and then pin it onto the cake, and then you can just either prick through the design or scratch through so you can see where to do your piping.
Great.
And if you do dent the cake, when you do that, you can just smooth it out with a smoother, and if you do it right away, it should be okay.
Or if it's too deep of a dent, pipe over it, right?
Or stick a flower on. That's a good thing about these designs. It can be quite random, and you just put wherever the marks. It's just as it is. There's no sort of polka dot kind of design is quite difficult because you have to obviously put the polka dots where the polka dots need to go.
Yes.
But with this free design, you can just put it where there's something.
We love that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And then you're going to pipe over those lines?
Yeah, and some people always worry about piping, but the good thing about this kind of piping, instead of moving in a nice, smooth, nice and close to the cake to get a nice smooth line, basically, which is it's really difficult. If anyone's tried to pipe against gravity on the side of a cake to get a perfect line, I actually dot, I don't know if you can see, but you can kind of like just dot, and it's like just dabbing and following the line, and it looks more like stitching or embroidery. And it's so easy to do. You literally just follow the line and just dot, 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 and there you have it, and it looks great.
Awesome. So you don't have to have the perfect, steady hand.
No, not for this you don't. I mean, of course you want to be comfortable and not lean against the side of the cake when you're doing it. As some people might do, and then they go, oh no, I have students here sometimes, and they're like so concentrating, and then they realise they put a massive arm print in the tier below the class. It's quite funny because it's just a class, and I sort of laugh at them, and they learn their lesson, which is fine.
Yes, but at least it's done on a practice cake and not a real one.
So exactly.
I actually have a funny story for something like that. I was making a cake one time, and I had stayed up, a good 48 hours. You know how we do sometimes when we're in a rush and in a push to get it done on time. And I was falling asleep, and I was trying to get some piping done on this cake. And I ended up waking up and seeing my arm just laying on a tier of cake. And I just, oh my goodness, what have I done? And
did you fix it okay?
Yeah, it actually smoothed out pretty well.
Oh, good.
And no one ever noticed, but
good.
It was one of those, okay, I need to be sure that I get enough sleep these days.
Yeah.
not as young as I once was, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of hit a barrier after a few years of going crazy and working all hours, and then it's kind of, oh, I can't do it anymore.
Uh-huh. Yep. All right, so you've got your little, uh, some people call them snail trails
Yeah,
or
teardrops or
teardrops.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so you can see that it's got the sort of dented kind of boarding, and then I've just piped 2 teardrops to kind of look like beading, just coming into the center around, just extra detail. And then I actually brushed when it was all done. I just brushed over with edible luster mixed with vodka or just a lemon extract, just to add it, give it a little bit of sparkle.
I like the luster dust. That's always makes it pretty. Whoops, I went too far. Okay.
So here I've just added all the applique flowers, and I'm just doing, here is when you cover up all the bits that are a bit, you just freehand and do the leaves in kind of an embroidery fashion. And you can do this quite quickly, just pipe a little leaf outline and then just zigzag back and forth inside the leaf, and it's as simple as that, and it looks really, really sweet, and just fills your design out to cover up more of the cake, and it's really quick to do. So.
Oh, that's really nice. Just little zigzags is all it is.
Yeah, so you just pipe a leaf or any shape you want, and then you just zigzag back and forth. And quite often I like to do this around sort of lacy areas, just to, as I said, just to fill out the design a lot more. And because it's got a slightly different look to it, it makes it a bit more interesting. And if you notice on real pieces of lace, you'll see this. You'll see maybe the flowers are done in one way, and then the leaves that are coming off the flowers are just stitching. They're not as thick as the flowers that are on the piece of lace. Well, then usually the bride's dress, that's what we do.
Okay. All right. So.
And then I just cut out some little circles and pretended they were sequins and added a few dots and a few little white, do you call them dragues over there?
Yeah, dragées or dragées.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people say it in a lot of different ways, but those things, the little pearly things.
Yeah, just here and there.
All right, that's really pretty. I love that. Okay, and then here's like a close-up of the final product. And I love.
So you can see, just the big pipe flower, and then the applique flowers around.
Yeah, I love how it has it looks like it's a needlepoint embroidery. It really does. I love that. And I guess that's what you were going for, huh?
Yeah, I did have somebody's actual lace to get work from this, and I made this on somebody's wedding cake first. Actually, I should have sent you a picture of that. That was done, it was just an ivory cake with white and ivory on top of it.
Oh, pretty.
And for the wedding, when we set it up, they actually had fresh flowers in between the tiers. And then flowers all around the base and on the top. So when I did it, I was like, this is beautiful. I'm going to do this design for my next book. Only because it's got a combination of that kind of embroidery effect and the applique together. So,
awesome. Yeah. Well, it's gorgeous. And then here's a picture of it again, all done and pretty. Did you take this picture?
No. That's a good thing about my books. They have a professional photographer to
very nice
to take it all. If you see my Facebook pictures on my Facebook page, they're not so good. They're just iPhone, quick snap before the cake goes out, and that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah. But it's nice to be able to style a cake for style a shot for a photograph and sort of add in the props and get the right light and just make it look pretty, but unfortunately I can't do photography that well.
I actually had when I had my actual cake business, doing actual cakes, I had a cousin who is a photographer and lived really close to me, and it was so nice to be able to have her, be able to just come and take pictures for me. I think having a good cake picture is worth so much. It's
definitely
so much. So yeah, if you can't afford or find a photographer around, I would suggest taking some classes on,
Yeah, yeah.
cake photography, but definitely worth looking into. Okay, so these are little cupcakes with the same
Mhm.
design on them.
So in quite a few of my books, I always have a main cake and two matching projects that go with it. So taking elements from the cake. So here we've got cupcakes, just using the applique part of the cake design, and then in the next photo that I think you're going to show, that has just the main flower embroidery part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just showing how you don't have to
Cookie.
just do it on a cake, but it can be
Uh-huh.
translated onto something else.
Well, and also, it could be combined into a whole the tableaus, the whole table worth of that's a really big thing right now is having
Yeah,
a
exactly.
dessert table and having the cake be the centerpiece of this whole, a cake table. So, I mean, having something like this is so perfect because you can actually incorporate it into everything.
Yeah. I think you've just got to be careful though if you're doing a big dessert table. Can you imagine trying to do 100 of these cookies or 100 cupcakes with all that decoration? So if
Yes.
I was doing it, I would probably minimize the size of the cookie and just maybe take one flower element or two and not go too crazy.
Yeah, this is
Unless I
definitely
wanted to pay, of course, for all that work.
exactly. This is something that you would charge a lot for,
Yeah,
and possibly bring in help
yeah, yeah,
because it's a lot of work.
yeah.
All right. Okay, so we've got some pictures here of different cakes that you have done.
hmm
And are these in your book or are these things
So
that you
these
find
are
in
all
Craftsy?
these are more lace cakes that I've just sent over. So the first one on the left is the actual craftsy cake that we do in two of the lessons. So we
Okay.
cover the embroidery side. Then the one on the right is just one I do. Actually, it's got quite popular. I've got one this week, but just in 3 tiers. And that's done in the same way as the craftsy cake. So by pressing the actual lace into the icing and then piping and doing brush embroidery and over piping the design.
Great.
That's those two.
Okay, and then we've got these
Yep.
gorgeous cakes.
And then these two we both also look at in the craftsy class. They're both kind of appliques. The one on the left's just literally cut out hundreds of stephanotis. So get everyone involved, get your family involved. My husband's done one of these kind of designs, just punching out lots of blossoms, sort of sat there with his hand like this. And how much longer have I got to go?
How many more of these do
So
I
you
need?
can. So long as, obviously they keep it nice and thin so it looks nice and delicate still. Men can sometimes be a bit heavy-handed.
Yes.
My cake
You have to
decorating side.
be, yep. You have to be particular about things sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's all that is. And then just there's separators between the tiers. And I've just hung some of the blossoms down just from the tip at the base of the cake, so it looks like they're like lace hangs kind of below at the bottom of
Yeah,
the dome.
I
They're
love
really
that.
easy, but it looks really effective.
Major effect
Mm.
for not a whole lot of
We did
work.
this in round recently and in pale pink with white on top, and it looked really pretty.
Oh, how pretty. I love
Yeah.
it. All right, and
Yeah.
the other one is that just flower cutouts that you?
Yeah, just flower cutouts and then layering them up in
Mhm.
drying them slightly cupped. And then you can't see too well in this, but I've actually piped brush embroidery around every single edge.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so you see it better close up. And then after the icing dried, then brush luster all around the edge as well. So it kind of just shone on the edge and the edge was sort of textured. But you can't really see it in this picture,
And
unfortunately.
yeah, without the detail. Yeah. Okay, and here's a couple more. They're
Um,
gorgeous.
Yeah, both inspired by dresses again. The one on the left is obviously repetition. I've made that a couple of
Mhm.
times since in slightly different colours. It's just ovals with what's the name for that cutter? Anyway, it's kind of the pointy cutter that I think is quite Moroccan. I can't remember the
Yeah.
name.
Is
And
it
then just
a hydrangea? Is that what it is?
no, I can't. It's kind of like a hydrangea would be, but it's tiny, tiny.
Oh, okay.
And then it's just pipe dots below. And then the other one, again, that one's in the class where it's cutouts and then a bit of a veining stick to give texture to the paste. And then again, brush embroidery around the edges and pearl luster dusting, pipe centers with more dragées in the center.
Awesome. I love how you use the texturing of, actually putting the details into the fondant and then piping over it and doing brushed embroidery. I think that's brilliant because it adds so much depth and dimension to it. Definitely.
I think just by looking at a dress, that one came from a dress, and just by looking at it, you kind of think, okay, how do I create that element? But then it's also got this here, so how do I do that part? And you kind of just build up just by looking at something. Do you know what I mean? That's how I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Say, how do you find that? And you just need to look at something. But I think you do sort of get better the more you do it. And when you look at something, at first, probably a few years ago when I started out, I wouldn't see things in the same way I see things now. And that also goes not just in cakes, but also photography that we were talking about. I say, okay, how do I make this picture? Just take a picture. Whereas now, just from shooting my books and from listening to the photographer, it's all about light and depth and seeing what things stand out and what things don't. And it's almost like layering. You know what I mean? Yeah, and also a lot of, I've learned quite a lot about just colour, just from making cakes, and in general, you learn a lot about colour and what colours make colours and what colours look nice on another colour and what doesn't look nice on another colour. If that makes sense.
All right, great, yeah, that does make sense. Okay, so then we've got a couple of other cakes that are, it looks like, inspired by dresses again.
Yeah, so the one on the right was by the dress in the background, and that's just that's actually just applique, but I've sort of free-handed it, so I've cut out shapes with cutters, and then I've kind of gone in and done my own, changed the outline slightly, and then I've distorted the shapes quite a lot and then stuck them on. And then, again, it's quite hard to see, but in the one on the right, just the flowers I've overpiped. So the flowers around the outline, so the flowers do sort of, well, they're supposed to, I don't know if you can see that, but they should pop out more than the leafy shapes, which is quite nice. And then the one on the left, that's just all done using the CK lace molds.
Yeah, I did recognize those.
Yeah, and the main flower, the bigger one, so on the top there's 1, then 2, then 3 on the bottom tier, that's just using one end of the mold, it's not using the whole mold.
Okay. Very nice. That's really pretty. All right. And then this one is so gorgeous on the right. Just very modern, contemporary. I just love
that's
that.
in the book.
I love that. And is that just feathers that you've?
It's edible rice paper.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. It's so easy.
I love that. And in your book, do you have instructions on how to do all of this?
Yep, instructions and lots of photos. I made sure in this book I included lots of photos, more than I have in my other books, just to make everything really clear. I think just from reading reviews on my previous books, some people have commented, oh, great book, but not enough photos to show. To show how the steps, and part of that is just because there's not enough space to fit everything in. So in this book,
that happens.
Exactly. In this book, I made sure I kept the descriptions to a minimal as possible, and just showed lots of photographs. And in the book there are some quite a bit more complicated projects that you really need to see how to do it. So I made sure we had just more photography in there. So I think it's better, this one, for that.
That's really nice. And they are gorgeous, gorgeous cakes. So definitely Definitely worth looking at the book. I think that's. We're actually going to put up a link in just a second. We actually have a picture of the book with a link for the actual book where you can go to find it. So we've provided a link for that. But if you take a look again at the one on the left, it's that really cute eyelet lace look. That's really pretty.
That takes quite a long time to do the eyelet with the eyelet cutters and then the overpiping.
Okay, well, good to know.
Quite fiddly. But again, it's you can simplify it. You could maybe just do 2 tiers with it on, and then 2 tiers that are plain. Just simplify the design. So. Yeah.
Okay, and then you have your next 2 cakes, or they're not lace cakes necessarily, but it's just really fun. Are these in your book also?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the next 4 photos, again, they're just projects that I've included in my book, and yeah, it just shows how to make them. And
all right. Okay, so this is the book right here. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. It is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure, as you can see, the pictures are stunning, and I'm sure that the directions and all of that are just as amazing. So, let's see. I will throw up the link right here. Let me throw that up for you guys so you guys can see that. Okay, right there. It is www.cakefu.com/vintage. That's the best way we could show you guys how to get to it. Otherwise, I mean, it's on Amazon, but it's a really long link, so we shortened it for you. So if you want to go check out Zoe's book, cakefu.com/vintage, and that'll take you to where her book is, that you can order it through Amazon. So definitely worth looking at. All right, let's see. We have a few questions rolling in, I believe. So let's go ahead and take some questions here. Okay, let's see. Someone asks, is that Fonderific fondant that you're using on your cakes?
No, it's not. I've only just heard about Fonderific.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I must be new. I only heard about it from actually watching Marina Souza's class, because she was making fondant, different fondant, designer fondant techniques. And she was rolling it really, really thin. And I was thinking, there's no way you could do that with the fondant we use. Well, the fondant that I use anyway. So I did the thing, what's this called, and saw Fonderific. And then I tried to look for it here in the UK, and I saw just one website that was selling it, but it was the buttercream one. I don't know if that's the right one to use.
There's different kinds, but the buttercream one is basically the standard flavor, that most people will use on a cake. The thing that the Fonderific does is they do different, flavors and things with their fondant. Usually it coincides with the color of the fondant, so that's very interesting.
So yeah, I just found it on one place. It was the only place over here. So is it quite new? Yeah.
It's been around for a few years now. I know that a lot of people have been using it. Maybe it's just fairly new in the UK. I'm not sure, but it has been. It's been around at least 4 or 5 years.
Oh, right.
I don't know.
Yeah, don't know. But I use Renshaw's Regalize, which is really soft, really soft. And in the summer, it's like toothpaste.
Oh, really?
It gets so soft, and you can literally pick it up, and it feels like hardened toothpaste. It's really, but that's all I've used in the 7 years that I've been making cakes. For me, it's just what you're used to using. I tried satin ice when I went to teach in Dubai, and it was just on one cake, and I didn't really like it as much because it was much stiffer. So yeah, it's just Regalize that I use.
it can be a little bit harder to work with the satin ice. You have to really know what you're doing and be used to that texture, I guess. So, all right. As we're going through these questions, just before we get too far into it, just for those of you that might have come in late, if you have a question for Zoe and want it answered, we have the little chat tab on the right side of the screen. If you tap on that, it'll bring up a chat box. You can type in your questions there. So go ahead and get in your questions to Zoe, and we'll get those answered. So, okay, our next question is, have you ever tried this method on modeling chocolate?
What method? The pressing lace in, or?
I'm guessing, yeah, using the lace with applique.
I haven't tried it. I haven't used much modeling chocolate either. I think it's very done over where you guys are, but over here everything's still more sugar work. But I think from having access to all the online tutorials and from a lot of the American cake makers coming over here to teach, we're sort of slowly getting introduced to everything, and people are using it a lot for modeling, for covering cakes, half and half, so mixing modeling chocolate with fondant to get a half-half mix. Yeah, so I haven't really tried, not too much.
Okay.
I'm sure it would work though.
I bet it would, as long as as long as it doesn't stick. That's probably the biggest issue, would be it becoming sticky. But I mean, as long as you have a good modeling chocolate recipe, I don't see it being a problem at all.
Yeah, because I know some are harder and firmer than others. So, and I guess the climate, if it's not too hot and.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's see. Our next question is, what size tip do you normally use for your piping, and how do you keep it from clogging?
I normally use, if it's just general outlines, maybe a 1, either a 0, a 1, or a 1.5. Okay. It depends on the job. But for the overpiping on the embroidery cake, I would try and use a 0, double 0, or a 0. To stop it from clogging, you need to make sure that the icing sugar is sieved. It's usually just with a 0, 0, and perhaps 0 if it's going to clog. And make sure, the icing sugar is sieved before you make it. And also, which I sometimes find the girls in my kitchen, if the lid's not been shut properly, they'll get crusty bits in the tub, and then when you mix that, you'll get some of those dried bits, and then they'll go into your icing, and they'll be the bits that clog up your nozzle. And what you don't want to do is start ramming cocktail sticks or needles down it, because you ruin the nozzle. You just open up the hole, make it wider, so it's no longer a fine nozzle. So just be careful. And
any little nick or scratch that you get inside of that will create a groove in your tip, and cause the icing to do different things.
Yeah.
So, I agree with that. If I can jump in and add a couple of suggestions, one thing that I've learned through the years is that you take an actual nylon, that like a knee-high sized nylon, and you put the royal icing inside the nylon and into a bag, and just pull the nylon through, and it will strain out any of the bits.
I've not heard that.
Oh, really? I heard it. I know. I heard of it a few years ago, and I was like, oh, I love that tip.
Good.
and it works really, really well. And then the other thing, like you were saying, if you don't put the lid on your royal icing, it can get crusty and stuff. What I do is I take some Saran wrap and cover it like right down along the surface, so there is no air at all. I tap it down so that there's no air coming out at all, and then I will put a damp paper towel on the top of that, and then I'll cover the whole thing with another piece of plastic wrap, and then put my lid on, so that I know for sure that there's no air getting in there. It's not going to dry out and get crusty on me. So those are the things that I do with my royal icing. So maybe that'll help somebody. All right. Let's see. How can I apply color to the rice paper? Powder colors. And someone else actually asked, can you airbrush the rice paper? So I guess that kind of goes.
Yep. I'm sure you can. I've never tried airbrushing it because I've only just recently got an airbrush, and I've used it about twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just don't have time to play around with it as much. But I'm sure you could, because the air from an airbrush, the liquid that goes through just evaporates straight away, and you just get the color out. So I'm sure it would work. The ones I think that I did on the book, you can either dust with luster to get the color, or you can spray it just with luster spray, or probably just the aerosol coloured sprays. I think Wilton do just coloured sprays. Yeah. The only thing I find with some of the sprays, which aren't as good as the airbrush, is that when you press them, they're kind of like, and they just come out really quickly, whereas the airbrush you can sort of gently spray.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the airbrushing, from what I know of rice paper, is that it's okay to airbrush it as long as you do just a really light coating. If you get it too wet, it's gonna start wrinkling up on you. But, yeah. So,
and there's actually a cake lady over here in the UK, and she's known for making rice paper cakes. They're absolutely amazing, really gorgeous. And she does all coloured ones, and I said to her once, how do you get them like that? She's like, I make them, or make the rice paper herself. So she colours it herself.
Really?
And I hope one day she'll give me her recipe and show me how to do it.
That's really cool.
They're amazing. She makes beautiful, beautiful rice paper cakes. If you want to have a look and check her out, she's called Linda Fripp, Fripp. And sorry, I'm just plugging my laptop back in. If you take a look at her website, her rice paper kit is so nice, all different colours and yellows, pinks. Really worth looking at. Really lovely.
Okay, did you say the flip?
Fripp, Fripp.
Okay, let me put that up there real fast.
Linda Fripp Designs, I think it's called. And everyone can try and ask her how she does it, but I don't think she'll tell you.
Okay, there you go. Linda Fripp Designs, for those of you that want to go check her out. There.
Yeah, they're really cool. They're really cool.
Awesome. Cool. That's really neat. We'll have to look her up and see if maybe she'll do a CakeFu training with us.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
She's been doing it for years. She's been doing cakes for years, and she's just really well known for her really nice. And her cakes are huge. These creations are quite big, with all these bits of feather coming off like shards, or lots of paper roses. You just have to have a look, and it's really inspirational, I think, her cakes.
Great. Yeah, I definitely am going to go look her up. That'll be really fun. Okay, let's see. Our next question is, let's see, this lace method as an embossing way or as cutouts. Have you tried this method? Oh, on modeling chocolate. Another modeling chocolate question. Okay, so let's see. Do you ganache?
Yes, sometimes. So in the class, I talk about marzipaning our cakes in the CraftSy class. We do a lot over in the UK. We normally marzipan for wedding cakes. A lot of people marzipan all the sponges, chocolate cakes, everything, as well as the traditional fruit cake. And from that, you do get a smoother finish. It's almost giving 2 coats of icing. But if they don't want marzipan or have an allergy, you can just go ahead, ice your cake buttercream, and then put the icing on. We don't put our cakes back in the fridge like you guys do over there, don't you? I think some people wrap them, and then store the wedding cake once it's made in the fridge until it's ready to go out. But here we don't ever do that.
Okay.
Well, most people don't. I'm sure there are some people that do, but we just leave ours out once it's layered, and then we leave ours out the fridge to just to stay at room temperature so that it doesn't sweat or anything.
Oh, very interesting. It's really interesting to hear how, in different parts of the world, cakes are done differently. It's just, it's really interesting.
The problem you have here with that is if they don't have marzipan and you just ice onto the cake straight away, because the cake sponge is soft, when at room temperature it sort of does this, and the ridges in the buttercream come through, so you get the ridges in your icing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And the Australians avoid that by ganaching all of their cakes, because it's got a harder room temperature setting. It sets harder at room temperature than just buttercream.
Yeah.
So in the warmer climates, and when it's sort of sat out in a warm room or in the summer, you won't get ridges forming because it's got a hard layer of chocolate ganache underneath. And so I've started doing this on my cakes in the summer months for people that don't want to have marzipan. So if it's a vanilla sponge, I'll just tell people why and say, okay, if you don't have marzipan and you just have buttercream, you'll maybe get ridges when the cake gets warm. But if you want, you can just have a thin layer of white chocolate ganache or dark chocolate ganache, whatever complements the flavour inside the cake the most, just around the outside. And it will give a better finish to the cake. And it won't change the flavour too much. It'll just make the icing taste a little bit more chocolatey. So,
okay, cool. Yeah, that's fun.
And that's just something I've learned from, actually, first of all, from students that have come to me to do my classes, and they said, oh, do you know what they do in Australia? Because they've done classes with other people when Australians come here and teach at different cake places around the UK. And then I've gone, oh, okay. And then just from watching some of the craftsy things, you see, what the Australians are doing. And you do learn. And then from that, you sort of take what you need to take and try it out yourself. And, yeah. So that's my new thing for this year. Ganaching cakes in the warm weather. Because we've had a really warm summer in the UK here, which is really nice. And we've had lots of problems with sort of really soft cakes. So just been ganaching everything that needs it.
Yeah, it's nice to have that option when you need it.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah. Well, and, with the crisp edges that everybody wants to have these days, either a really stiff type of buttercream or a ganache or... Yeah, I'm sure the marzipan would probably do a pretty good job of
exactly. And then
too.
We usually let the marzipan dry out overnight out of the fridge, and it gets nice and firm, and then you ice a thin layer of sugar paste or fondant on top of that.
Okay, cool. Well, we may need to do like a, different techniques around the world kind of a training.
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, but it's really good to find out what other people do and stay sort of connected, because it might help you, in other areas. So.
Oh, absolutely. I think I think our cake industry is really evolving that way, because there is so much out there, and there is the technology and the means to be able to share everything worldwide. And I think that the way that cakes are being done today are so different than they were being done, 10, 15 years ago when I started. I mean, it's so different, and I love that, there's always something new to be learning, and especially once you get through into all the different areas of the world that everybody does something different. It's just there's so much to learn. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed doing the class. I really enjoyed it, and also I like doing the book because it gives me a chance to share what I like doing and my favourite things with other people. My family are actually all teachers, parents, and now my sister. So I think we've got the teaching gene in us, and just being able to share it and to kind of explore things to do and give people ideas of what we like to do and how we like to do things. So it's also a great way for me to get known and to sort of meet people around the world. Really, I get lots of Facebook messages, emails, even people coming into the shop who have only discovered me. Well, in the beginning, probably just through my books. Really, my first one came out about 5 years ago now. So people have discovered me from that, and one thing's led to another. So I hope now with the crafty thing going out and being so popular, more people will kind of find out about me, and yeah, who knows? Yeah, it's just like making lots of friends, I guess, really, and just, you know, discovering more things. And it's really nice when people write and say, oh, can you look at my page? And then you look at their page and it's like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And you see new things as well, which gives you ideas. And that's kind of how it works, just bouncing back and forth ideas and meeting new people. And yeah.
Awesome.
I also get asked to teach a lot abroad as well, which is really nice. So
that is fun. That is so
do a bit of traveling, and yeah.
One day I plan to do some traveling to teach. You know, I do a little bit. I don't go too far. I have, you know, a bunch of kids at home, so I try to stay close to home.
Sometimes I bring them with me.
That's
the hardest
fun.
thing. The hardest thing, just being away. But you know, with technology and FaceTime, you wake up in the morning in Dubai or wherever, and you just FaceTime them, and you kind of watch them get dressed while you're getting checked. Well, I'm not, you know.
Yeah, while you're getting ready to go.
As if they're in the same room. It's amazing. It's brilliant. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, that's fun. Thank you so much, Zoe, for coming on and joining with us and sharing your, you know, information with us. Your cakes are absolutely gorgeous, and I can totally see why everybody wants to learn from you.
Oh, that's very kind.
Awesome. Well, and you know what? I actually have to say, I have a lace cake that I'm doing this weekend, and you know, I'm baking the cakes for it today. So I'm really excited about this because, you know, I had one plan, but I think maybe I'll do something else. So I'll have to go check out your class and watch it and come up with the perfect plan for my lace cake.
Good luck. Send me a photo when you've done it.
Absolutely. I'll post all about it.
Okay, great.
Right. Well,
yeah, and if anyone wants to send me photos, you can either post it on the Crafty if you've done that, or even if you want to send it on Facebook to me. It's just Zoe Clark Cakes is the Facebook page. So I love people posting, you know, pictures and things. It's really nice to see everyone what they've done.
It is fun. It is fun. You know, every once in a while I'll get someone sending me something to CakeFu, and I just, that's fun. You know, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to, you know, accomplish by teaching people here and there. You know, I see a little bit of an effect from that, and it's really fun. It really is. It's rewarding. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Zoe, for coming, and thank you all for coming and listening. I hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.